Penguin Random House Audio presents The Real Liddy James by Anne-Marie Casey, read for you by Orlagh Cassidy. And all the while, I suppose, he thought, real people were living somewhere and real things happening to them. Edith Wharton, The Age of Innocence. A fig tree grows in Brooklyn. Liddy knew Mrs. Vandervorst had been crying because she emerged from the corridor bathroom with her sunglasses on. There had been some confusion over timing, a not unusual occurrence during the holiday season, and Mrs. Vandervorst had arrived alone, so Liddy solicitously accompanied her to the conference room and settled her into a velvet-upholstered armchair with a cup of chamomile tea, which she had made in a white china teapot with loose buds, not a bag. The buds bloomed into pretty white flowers floating on the surface of the pale yellow liquid, and the sight of this seemed to calm Mrs. Vandervorst, who sank back into the cushions a little and sipped slowly. Liddy hoped the woman would gather herself before the meeting began. She did not want any scenes this afternoon, accusations, counter-accusations, sordid marital mudslinging. Drama inevitably delays everything. She had a twice-postponed interview with the Times at 4 that afternoon. "What color is this?" said Mrs. Vandervorst, looking at the walls. "It's one of those fancy country house colors. Mist on the heather, it's called, or something like that." Mrs. Vandervorst took off her sunglasses. Underneath, her eyes were stubbornly ringed white with ill-matched concealer, but the telltale bloodshot around her pupils remained. "I like it," she said. "It's very soothing." Liddy smiled. It was not the first such comment, and she found it gratifying. Before she agreed to join Oates & Associates, in addition to the usual stock allocation, health coverage for her extended family, and use of a driver on weekends, she had insisted on a supervisory role in redecorating the offices and had been delighted that her arrival as a senior partner coincided with the expiration of the lease on the macho marbled space on 5th. She had found this townhouse on East 61st through a client, another forced sale after the demise of a third marriage of unseemly haste, and set about refurbishing it in the manner of a boutique hotel or luxury gîte. Probably one in the south of France, but with American owners so the faucets didn't screech like injured animals when turned on. The other partners scoffed at the discussion of a color palette, but Curtis Oates, founding partner and pioneer in the new world of extreme prenuptial agreements, compulsory facelifts, monthly threesomes, or custody of children along gender lines, no problem, had dropped into her office one evening brandishing a line drawing from the Hearst studio as a thank you. "Very clever, Liddy," he said in the raspy Humphrey Bogart voice he had affected as a teenager, because Leonora Mott, the object of his affection in 1971, had told him it was sexy. "You got a lot of class, kid." Liddy knew this. She had worked hard to acquire it. "Make 'em relax before we screw 'em." Liddy turned to Mrs. Vandervorst and hoped she was relaxing, for she was certain to be screwed. "Are you all right?" she asked, and meant it. Mrs. Vandervorst looked straight at her. She had the sorrow under control now, and so, left with disbelief, she kept digging the nails on her left hand into her palm hard, as if she could wake herself up. "How do I get rid of his name?" she said. "I can't take it off like the rings." Liddy glanced at the enormous pink diamond on the other woman's finger, and, mentally scanning through her list of Mr. Vandervorst's demands, thought, "He wants the ring, my dear, the name he doesn't care about, because it didn't cost him anything." "You go back to your maiden name," she said. Mrs. Vandervorst thought about this for a moment. "I don't remember who Gloria Thompson was." Lydia looked away to see if anyone had appeared in the corridor. Mudlark blue on the walls, an arrangement of vivid poinsettias on a side table. "How can you do this to me?" "Sorry?" Liddy was not sure if she had heard something or not. Mrs. Vandervorst had whispered, as she was a woman frightened of her anger and she did not want to cry again. "Are you a mother, Miss James?" Liddy assumed her default low-register professional voice.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?